Can you even imagine keeping a diary inside the most infamous, most brutal prison of the American Civil War? Every single entry would be a tiny act of defiance. Well, that's what we're diving into today. A truly harrowing story of survival, brotherhood, and the absolute duty to remember, all told through the eyes of one soldier named John Ransom. Let's get into it.
Wow, what a chilling way to start. Those are the words of John Ransom, a Union soldier. And his story, it doesn't even begin inside the prison walls. It starts with that one single moment, the absolute chaos of an ambush, the shock of a wound, where his entire world just flipped upside down. In an instant, he went from soldier to prisoner. And that's where the real ordeal began.
And you gotta understand, this account is absolutely grounded in reality. This whole explainer is based on a play that was drawn directly from the actual diary John Ransom kept. So the words we're exploring, the experiences, they come straight from the man who lived through it all.
To really get how he survived, we first have to look at the two worlds Ransom was caught between. You have the life he swore he'd return to, and then you have the living hell he was forced to endure every single day.
See, on one side, you have his promise to his wife, Mary. That promise of love, of coming home. That was his lifeline. But on the other side, the brutal, day-to-day reality of Andersonville. In his own words, the guards were cruel, they were heartless, and they seemed to enjoy watching the prisoners suffer. It's that insane contrast that really shows you what was at stake for him.
So, how in the world do you survive a place literally designed to break you? For Ransom and the men around him, the answer wasn't fighting with weapons. No, it was about building something way, way stronger: camaraderie.
Just like his friend Bullock says here, it was the strength of their friendship. In a place that was built to strip them of their humanity, their connection to each other became their anchor. They weren't just a random group of prisoners anymore, they became a band of brothers. And think about who was in this group. You had Billy, the guy who was always optimistic no matter what. Tom, the quiet farmer, but strong as an ox and always there to help. Bullock, who looked tough on the outside but was the first one to share whatever he had. William, the loyal friend, and George, the storyteller, who kept memories of the outside world alive. Every single one of them was a pillar of support.
Ransom actually came up with this powerful metaphor for how they survived. He called them houses of resilience. And these weren't, physical shelters, not at all. They were psychological fortresses built out of shared stories from back home, unwavering support, and a tiny, fragile bit of hope that they would one day be free.
And this is how they fought back. In a world of constant starvation, an act as simple as Bullock sharing a piece of bread, that wasn't just about food. It was a massive act of resistance. It was them screaming that their humanity could not and would not be extinguished.
But all that kindness, all that camaraderie, it was up against the systematic campaign of pure cruelty. And that cruelty had a face. The camp's commandant, Captain Henri Weirs. Listen to that. It's just so raw, so defiant. Ransom confronts Weirs directly, not as a weak prisoner to a powerful captor, but as one man holding another accountable for his crimes. He straight up calls him a murderer, a charge that would echo long, long after the war was over.
You see, Ransom's diary didn't just document these acts of cruelty. It meticulously recorded the consequences. And as the months just dragged on, the human cost of Weirs' command became tragically, horrifically clear. Ransom's diary basically marks the changing seasons by the rising death toll. In September alone, a staggering 1/3 of all the prisoners in that camp died. 1 in 3. And then came October, and the horror just compounded. One half of the men who had somehow survived September were now gone. And the wave of death, it was just relentless. In November, it claimed another 1/3 of those who were still left. The scale of the losses, it's almost impossible to even wrap your head around. Ransom asked this question himself in his diary. And it just hangs there, right? A testament to a level of death and suffering that is just, it's beyond comprehension.
For the few who did manage to endure, getting liberated wasn't the end of their story. Not even close. It was actually the beginning of a lifelong mission, a vow they made to the thousands who never made it out. For these men, survival came with this profound sense of duty. Just like Bullock said, they felt they owed it to the fallen to become their voice. Their own personal trauma was transformed into this huge, collective historical responsibility.
And this wasn't just talk. They took real, concrete action to fulfill this vow. They testified at war crimes trials, they published their diaries, just like Ransom did, and they shared their stories with anyone who would listen, all to make sure that what happened in Andersonville would never, ever be erased from history.
And you know what? Their words had power. Real power. Because of the evidence and the testimony from survivors just like Ransom, Captain Henry Weirs was tried, he was convicted of war crimes, and he was ultimately executed. It was this landmark moment of justice, and it was brought about by men who simply refused to be silenced.
Ransom's words here, this is the final, powerful message from his diary. He's saying their legacy wasn't just about their own suffering. It was about the lessons it carried. Lessons about the true, devastating cost of war and about the incredible value of compassion, especially in the face of so much hatred.
And so, Ransom's story really leaves us with this crucial question. His diary was his answer to it. It was his act of bearing witness. And now it challenges all of us, right? It makes us think about our own role in keeping these vital, difficult histories alive, to make sure that we remember, we learn, and we actually grow from them.